Have you ever been in one of those relationships where, everything you like the person, but it just seems like you're bound to get hurt? Something's not right. She's just, or he's just not that into you. I think that could be the case with this upcoming recruit for the Gophers basketball program. I'm hesitant. Hear why.
Locked On Golden Gophers, your daily podcast on the Minnesota Golden Gophers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You're listening to Locked On Golden Gophers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Kane Rob, host of the podcast, former collegiate football video coordinator and recruiting assistant, here to talk Golden Gophers with you each and every day of the week. Now, we have one final week left, and that is next week, where we're 3 days in the week. And then after that, we're back to Monday through Friday from August through up till May, just like what it would have been last year had we been in season. We're in season now. We're going to be Monday through Friday starting August. So I can't wait to build this thing with you. I can't wait to continue growing it. This is a show where we always continue to roll. We're going to be talking a lot of football coming up, but we gotta talk about Tyson Chapman in basketball today before we dive heavy into the football season that will be picking up. So thank you for listening. Please subscribe on the YouTube channel. We're growing that community over there. Leave comments on what you would like to hear as we dive into the football for the Minnesota Golden Gophers. What topics, what ideas, what thoughts? Drop them in the comments below on YouTube, so that way I can touch on them each and every day as we move forward back to our Monday through Friday show. Now let's talk Tyson Chapman. Like I said, I'm hesitant. I'm weary. It just feels like you're in that relationship, but you can just tell that the person's not all the way in. Now, that's not to say Tyson Chapman couldn't be headed to the Gophers, couldn't be bound for Dinkytown, but I'm weary. I'm skeptical. I'm trying to ride that balance of hopeful and avoiding heartbreak. So why are we talking about Tyson Chapman? For those of you who don't know who Tyson Chapman is, he's the number one player in the state of Minnesota when it comes to basketball class of 2023. Now, the Gophers still have 2 scholarship spots left to offer, at least, with 1 open spot available, and then the graduate transfer Terrace Samuels off, most likely is losing that scholarship, as he will be out of eligibility. So we'll have 2 open scholarships. Now, Tyson Chapman recently announced his top 5 schools left that he is considering, and the Gophers are there. The Gophers are in that top 5. And you know what? The top 5, the list of schools is not shabby. So the fact that the Gophers are in there, it feels a lot like Jackson Howard, with his top 4 and the Gophers being included, with a lot of major programs. But this one feels a little bit more hopeful than Jackson Howard. If you knew me, if you'd listened to our show, I was always a bit weary, probably more weary with Jackson Howard than I am with Tyson Chapman, but it's a similar feeling, a similar idea. And so you just don't want to set yourself up for heartbreak, folks. Now, the 5 schools are Minnesota, Kansas, Xavier, Virginia, and Ohio State. Those are the 5. One other Big Ten conference rival in there. Hate to see that. Hate to see it. But I do feel more hopeful on this front now. When Tyson Chapman spoke with Ryan James over at Gopher Illustrated, who is the basketball aficionado when it comes to not only Gophers prospects, but basketball prospects in general. Ryan James has the insight, has the connections, has the 411, folks, on all things prospects basketball. So when he talks about what he's hearing or even when he interviews, I listen. So what were the things that he's been saying about these 5 schools? Well, the thing that stood out to me was that he didn't really say much about Ohio State at all. There was no Ohio State quotes in the articles on 247 when in regards to Chapman over the last few weeks, month, that people have been interviewing, questioning, learning more, and speaking with Tyson Chapman. There was nothing about Ohio State. So that one, it's interesting. I'm not going to say that means, oh, he's not going there. But it's interesting, to say the least. If I had to pick a pecking order, I'd probably put him at the bottom, simply for that. Usually when you have major interest, something is brought up. You're regarding to them in some format, some form of way. So it was at least interesting, to say the least. Now, the things that he brought up about other programs, he brought up with Virginia that Tony Bennett is huge on defense, which he is. He's one of my favorite coaches in the entire nation for collegiate basketball. And his style of basketball is perfect for the Big Ten, but they're an ACC school. Regardless, Tyson Chapman said that Tony Bennett's focus on defense and his honing in on that area of game, it stands out to Tyson because he knows that's an area that he can still grow in. And if he wants to play at the highest level, at the NBA, he knows he needs to grow on that side of the floor. And he thinks that that could be something to help him get there. It could strengthen and grow his weakest areas. Now, overall, I think those are the main points that stand out with Virginia. They're the second most recent to win a championship on his list of top 5 remaining. Xavier, with new coach Sean Miller from Arizona, if you remember him. He said that he took an official visit out to Xavier. He said that they showed him a lot of love and they showed him how he would fit into their program. There's a whole new staff, whole new system out there in Xavier. So he's interested to see what they can do this year. So don't expect a decision anytime soon, because he's likely going to watch how these programs shape out, because there's a lot of youth, a lot of to be determined with these teams. Ohio State has 5 freshmen coming in, has 3 main transfers coming in. Huge change. Xavier, whole new coaching staff, new head coach, new system, huge change. Gophers coming off of, I believe, 13 scholarship player, not 13. There were 7 scholarship seniors that left the program. And so it's just like, there's lots of changing. We already have talked about the Gophers, Dawson Garcia coming in, Talon Cooper coming in, 4 new freshmen coming in. Lots of change, lots of growing, lots of seeing how the systems play out, how the culture plays out. And that's going to be something Tyson Chapman keeps an eye on. It just is. You can't be oblivious to that fact. So watching this season is going to be important. Now, what he said about Kansas is that mainly the assistant coach recruits him. So he's not really hearing from Bill Self too much, which, that could be tough. That could be, I don't want to say disrespectful, but it could be seen as, you're not all in on me because you as a head coach aren't even making that relationship with me. I'm more of a plan B. That could be seen as disrespectful. It could not, but I know that Ryan James has pointed out a few times that he doesn't get the feel that Kansas is in the lead by any means, and that the lack of communication between Self and Tyson Chapman could hold value to Tyson. So something to keep an eye on. One thing he said, and I thought it was very interesting, is that they're a blue blood program that just won a championship. So I do not see a reason why I would not want them in the mix. Now, to me, I mean, you see this from a lot of prospects, especially as they get a lot of high offers, is they'll list some of the programs that are seen as the best, because it just boosts your confidence, your morale, and others on the outside, whether that be other prospects, other coaches, whoever. When they see it, they're like, oh, Kansas offered? Oh, Virginia offered? You know what I mean? Like, you might not have any intention of going there, but seeing those big dogs, it's impressive. It's cool. It's cool to tout that you have those offers coming in, even if you have no real means or idea of going to those programs. Now, I'm not saying he doesn't, but just that statement was very interesting to me. I do not see a reason why I would not want them in the mix. They just won a championship. It doesn't sound like, man, I love this program, man, I love what they do. It's just an interesting comment. And so I'll leave it at that. I'm not going to look into it too much. Now, lastly, with Minnesota, what he said, he did officially say he is going to do an official visit in Minnesota in the fall. You'll love to hear that. I was nervous because he has been taking a number of official visits. He went to Xavier, he went to UConn. And so I was hoping we'd at least land that official visit. It does look like we are going to in the fall. And he says he wants to get the full experience, a football game, a tailgate experience, and just everything. He says that the Minnesota staff and him, they're taking all the time. They're building the relationships. He has a good relationship, not only with Coach Johnson, but with Coach Thorson. And he says he also texts with some of the other assistants as well. So it's great to see that relationship is building and that hashtag C2F is holding strong. Commit to family, as Ben Johnson says. So that's what we're hearing on the top 5 front for Tyson Chapman. And next, I want to talk about what my initial thoughts are on it. And then let's talk about how the team could look moving forward if he was to commit to the Gophers. First, I want to talk to you about our friends BetOnline. See, BetOnline brings you more props, more lines, more odds than ever before. If you want to know the latest and greatest when it comes to odds for the Heisman, go check it out at BetOnline. If you want to see the over-under win totals for each program, whether that be Power 5 or beyond, for football, those are updated over at BetOnline. BetOnline is where you can get the latest trends and actions, and you need to check it out today. So BetOnline, where the game starts. Now, as we had discussed, Tyson Chapman honing in on his final 5 schools and what he has said about them so far. But, what seems important is there's a good mix in there. There's a good mix of, you've got Minnesota, you've got Xavier. Both those programs are on the build, on the rise, on the rebuild, but good relationships being built. Then you've got your Kansas, you've got your Virginia, teams that have won a national championship in the last 5 years. Some of the highest rated, highest accolades with head coaches between those two programs. And then you've got Ohio State, who finds themselves often competing, has been recently churning out NBA level talent. And so it's a healthy mix. And I don't think that should go undervalued, underrated, underspoken about. So it's something to keep in mind. Now, overall, Tyson Chapman, why he's important to the Gophers is because, 1, keeping that Minnesota homegrown talent here. 2, he is a highly rated recruit. He's the nation's 25th ranked player in the entire nation. So he's in the top 25. He's a 4-star guy on the verge of a 5-star guy, and he is a guard. He is a guard that can create shots for others. He's a guard that can create shots for himself. He can score at all 3 levels. He needs to improve on the defensive end, as even he acknowledges. But if there's anything that is a weakness right now for the Gophers, it is our guard depth. We have officially 4 guards on the roster, 4 on a roster of 13 players, 11 scholarship, and 2 walk-ons. We have 4 guards. It's important to get a guard that not only just to have, but a guard that can be the future, that can build the future, that can be the foundation of the team. Now, Talon Cooper is going to do amazing things for the Gophers this season. He is going to be the perfect type of facilitating point guard that we need for the season. But it would be great to have another guy coming in that is 2 to 3 years younger than him. So that way that transition is smooth. That transition is flawless. It's not oh crap, we got to find another guy because Talon is graduating or his eligibility is up in 2 years. It's nice to have that coming in. They would have a year of crossover together. That's how great programs build, is having those overlaps, having the time to learn and pick the brain and grow with that predecessor. So that's why it's important. But again, because keeping that in-home state talent home, Minnesota has had such a high number of guys that have been top ranked recruits that have left in the past 5-6 years. We've talked about it on a previous episode before, if you want to go listen to it, but you think of guys like Jalen Suggs, who said he would have came and played for the Gophers most likely had Rick Pitino showed more interest in him. Chet Holmgren, McKinley Wright, who showed out for the Colorado Buffs and literally is a legend over there in Colorado. Matthew Hurt went to Duke, said he was very interested in playing at Minnesota. There's so many talented players, top-rated players that have passed up on coming to the Gophers because they didn't have that relationship, because they felt slighted, because they didn't see they didn't have the connections, they didn't have the relationship, they didn't see the coaches valuing them like these high blue blood programs were. So if you're not feeling the love at home, why would you pass up the opportunity to go to a program that's won championships, that's done it consistently, that churns out guys to the NBA? Why wouldn't you if you're not feeling the love? So the fact that Ben Johnson is coming in here from the jump and building those relationships and establishing it is huge. And then to see that firsthand and see Tyson Chapman be the guy that passes up on Kansas, that passes up on Virginia to stay home, that would be huge. That would be massive. That would be absolutely great for the program. It would show a change. It's not saying that, okay, then we're title bound. No, you still got to grow. You still got to build. You still got to win games out there on the court. You can have all the names you want, but if you can't get the win on the court, it doesn't matter. So the culture change, the mindset change, that does matter. That is something that would stand out and be great for the program. You say we get these last 2 scholarships on Tyson Chapman and Nolan Winter, both from Minnesota. Nolan Winter's father played for the University of Minnesota. And to know that Nolan Winter, his other school that he is highly considering is the Badgers, who has taken Tyler Wall, Nate Reavers, Brad Davison, the list goes on, of guys from Minnesota, from our state. They've taken them right next door and competed, made many tournaments, won many Big Ten championships. You start to make those changes. You bring in Nolan Winter, who passes up on the Badgers. You bring in Tyson Chapman, who passes up on Kansas, on Xavier, on Virginia, to stay home. That is big. I don't care who says otherwise. I don't care if former alumni say, oh, well, it's not that important. Winning is important. You're right. Winning is important. But that shift in the mindset matters. So that's why this is a big deal for the Gophers. That's why I'm excited to see what happens for the Gophers. But next, I want to talk about how the team would look moving forward if Tyson Chapman did commit. Now, thank you for listening to Locked On Golden Gophers, making us your first listen, especially when it comes to Gopher sports. We're getting back to the Monday through Friday starting in August. So next week is our last short week. But I appreciate you listening. I appreciate you following wherever you get your podcasts. I appreciate you leaving 5-star reviews, and I appreciate you subscribing on YouTube. And if you haven't done that yet, please do below and drop comments on what you want to hear, especially as we approach the football season. Now let's close up today's show. I want to keep it a quicker show. I know I had a long one yesterday for you, so close up today's show on how it would look in 2023 and moving forward if Tyson Chapman did commit. Now we've got Pharrell Payne, Braden Carrington, Joshua Joseph, and Jaden Henley for the next 4 years. You throw in Tyson Chapman and Caden Betts, who would both be coming in next season, and that's your solid 6 guys right there that you're growing and not forcing into major minutes immediately, but as they continue to grow and take more minutes, you feel more comfortable in the build of your program. But you don't have to throw it all on them and worry that they can't handle that, because you still have next year. If Tyson Chapman commits, if Caden Betts already committed. So if Tyson Chapman comes in with Caden Betts, you've got those 6 players that you have multiple years of eligibility left, but you also have leaders in Dawson Garcia. In Dawson Garcia, Jamison Battle, and Talon Cooper. Cooper and Battle would have 1 more year of eligibility left. Now, from what I'm seeing online, and this is I'm not fully 100% locked on if this is correct or not, but from what I'm seeing from the Gophers website, they're listing Dawson Garcia as a sophomore officially, meaning he would have 3 years of eligibility left because he does get the extra year if he wants it due to COVID. Now, likely he would probably leave before those 3 years anyway, because he has the talent to make the leap eventually. So I wouldn't count on those 3 years, but what I'm saying is at least next year, if he wants to come back, he can. And you can have Battle and Garcia back if they want to continue building their NBA draft stock. You can come back and be a contender, a title, not favorite, but in the running with guys like Battle, Cooper, and Garcia leading the way. And you're pairing Tyson Chapman, a very highly rated recruit, with freshmen that are stepping up. Pharrell Payne's going to see a ton of minutes this year. Braden Carrington's going to see a ton of minutes this year. You get those minutes and those repetitions with those guys. You pair in Tyson Chapman and Caden Betts, who in his own right could be a 4-star talent. Look, that's a lot of talent. That's a lot of guys, young guys getting experience and pairing and playing with 2 guys for sure that have NBA level talent. 2023, if Battle and Garcia come back and we get Chapman, 2023 could be a season that we actually compete for a Big Ten championship. Legitimately. I'm not saying that to amp it up. Now, it takes those guys coming back, and that's not guaranteed whatsoever. But 2023-24 could be a massively competitive, contending in the Big Ten team. Plus, you add the athleticism of Parker Fox coming back. You've got Talon Cooper, who still has a year left. That's a strong team. That's a strong unit. And you still have 1 more scholarship. Hopefully Nolan Winter headed this way. Or Cam Christie, who is also a baller in his own right. The Gophers are in healthy shape, folks. The Gophers are in healthy shape. Now, if Tyson Chapman isn't a 1-year jump, after that, you're still building around Pharrell Payne, Braden Carrington, Jaden Henley, Joshua Joseph, Tyson Chapman, Caden Betts, and whoever that 3rd scholarship player is, and your next scholarships after that. So likely you're going to lose Talon Cooper, Jamison Battle, and Dawson Garcia, and Parker Fox. That's 4 scholarships freeing up from 23-24. So that means you've got your young core guys that are starting to build up and be the main focus guys, the main statistical production guys, and you're bringing in more recruits. And as you're building with guys like Tyson Chapman, with Pharrell Payne, with Caden Betts, you're getting more 4-star talents that are interested because you're building something special with highly recruited guys. And hopefully in that 23-24 year, you're contending for a Big Ten championship, and you can change the cycle, change the recruitment ideas of what your program is. That's where this goes. That one addition in Tyson Chapman can make a huge difference for years to come. This 2023 class for basketball has the power to be extremely impactful and a program changer. So that's why you can get excited. But that's also why I say don't get too excited, too invested, because it can lead to heartbreak. It takes Tyson Chapman saying, I'm committing to Xavier. And things start to crumble a little bit. Now, that doesn't always fully crumble. You've got Caden Betts committed. You've got those 4 freshmen this year. You've got foundational pieces. But Tyson Chapman coming on board could be something special. That's going to do it for us today on Locked On Golden Gophers. I appreciate you listening. I appreciate you following. Subscribe on YouTube. Next week, we are talking football. We've got our last shortened week of 3-day shows. Please drop down in the comments below what you want to hear when it comes to football topics as we move forward. And I will see you next week. I appreciate you. Take it easy.